So here we are, the last KitPlus TV of Season 1. We've welcomed over 50 guests into the virtual studio over the last 3 months with leading industry insight and top tips from the experts. It's more of the same this week, so stay right where you are. Although this is the last weekly show for Season 1, we do have a full virtual week of content starting on the 7th of September with our virtual IBC showcase. We'll have more on this later in the show.
Given the time of year, we thought we would leave the students alone for a little longer. And so this week we chat with Gary, the new Pro Vice Chancellor Academic, Learning and Teaching and Student Experience at Ravensbourne.
Then we have David from BR Remote talking about his miniature PT camera solution in partnership with Marshall Electronics, followed by Mark Sheffield from Pip Studios, the new full-service Dolby ATMOS facility in Winnersh.
And then watch out Brodric from KVM-TEC with a comprehensive rundown of their up-to-date solutions. And our final workflow guest today is Mark from Promethean, telling us about adding interactive overlays to your live and VOD content, measuring ROI and how to engage with audiences.
KitPlus show regular Alistair Chapman is building quite a catalogue of tech insights so far, covering RAW, explaining all we need to know about gamma curves, showing us how to select a tripod, weighed up ISO versus gain control, shared his lockdown streaming experiences, discussed the full frame look, and last week looked at ACEs and colour managed workflows. Let's see what he has this time.
And I'm going to be looking at how to choose the right camera for you.
And don't forget, you can catch up on previous insights from Alistair. Just go to our weekly show playlist on YouTube, and together with many others, Alistair has also given seminars on various KitPlus show events, and you can see these and other recorded sessions on the link on screen now. So let's go over to Dick to see who's with him today.
Today I'm going to be talking to Glodina Lostanlen from Imagine Communications. She's always full of insight and interest, and I'm very much looking forward to the conversation.
And as part of our TV Futures section this week, we'd like to welcome Gary Pritchard from Ravensbourne University. Welcome to the show, Gary. Thanks for joining us. I'd like to kick off with quite a topical subject, obviously. Pearson announced last week that BTEC results were going to be delayed. The reasons we sort of know by now. But how does that affect students that are looking for a course at Ravensbourne this academic year coming? How does that give them the same chances that other people that may already have their A-level results right now?
Yeah, it's a great question, and your heart really goes out to these young people, doesn't it? It's been such a mess. And I remember my two kids, actually, those days when they picked up their GCSEs and their qualifications. They were such stressful times, and so as I say, I kind of really, my heart goes out to them. We're really lucky at Ravensbourne, actually, because we made a decision some time ago to interview all our prospective students. So it doesn't come down to the qualifications. We have a very widening participation remit, which effectively means that we don't just pick those with the highest grades. We're actually looking for people with talent. And so as part of the process, we're not just looking at their exam outcomes, we're looking at their portfolios, we're looking at the work that they've done, and their ability to articulate their passion for their subject. So even though it still is a big deal, for our students, actually, it's not going to disadvantage them. So we're lucky in that way.
That's refreshing to hear. It's I remember now actually being an X-ray. I remember having an interview before I was allowed to be on the course. Yeah, absolutely. So we all know that these past few months have been pretty difficult for everyone. How have you been dealing with trying to deliver a creative education and the courses without being on campus? That must be tricky.
Yeah, it was. I think there's no question that actually that for the last term, the summer term, when the kind of roof fell in, we realised that we were scrambling a bit like everybody else. And but it's so interesting. It's so incredible how durable they are and how creative they are. So, for example, in the first instance, the students went from that kind of initial panic about how we're going to do this, and then just kind of went into a completely different mode. One example would be our fashion students, who were really hit badly because they weren't able to actually have their runway shows, develop their collections. What are we going to do? And so actually, our head of fashion, Lee Lapthorne, had this brainwave to work with our games department and put their heads together, if you like, with both students. And they came up with a way of actually working together where the fashion students were creating their collections and turning them into virtual collections on avatars in kind of games drives and software. So they went from this crisis of like, how the heck can you actually have a fashion show, to actually thinking, actually this is an incredibly innovative way of doing that. And so it's actually we're gonna bring that into our curriculum now in a way that it wasn't there before. And we think it's the future. So we went from this huge crisis to actually, you know what, when you actually squeeze creative people, creativity comes out of them. So it's not without its challenges, but we're in a good spot now.
And has this integrated any reasonably well with industry, if you like? How has industry received that new way of doing things? Because you've always been quite integrated with industry as an educational facility.
Yeah, so it's a really important point. We are a vocational university. Doesn't mean we ever dumb down the academic element of our courses, but we are very much a university that is developing our courses in relationship and partnership with the industry. So we have industry advisory groups, for example, who continuously support us in developing our curriculum. And I think the biggest change we've seen is we were actually developing something before lockdown. We called it the digital first strategy. And it's a bit of a cliche, but that idea that universities say we're trying to develop graduates for jobs that don't even exist yet. It is a cliche, but there's a lot of truth in that. And so the question is, if the future is so uncertain and these industries now are being decimated and they're so uncertain, what do you actually teach your students? And we're realizing we came up with something called the Mindsets and Skill Sets Manifesto or curriculum. And so the clue is in the title there, that the skill sets we know, we need to develop, great cutting edge skills around software development, around creativity, ideation, all those elements. But the mindsets element is all the things that we know in the future are going to be valuable. So they're the so-called soft skills, the emotional intelligence, the ability to build resilience, going through tough times, the ability to receive and give good criticism. So all that so-called soft skills, which is a misnomer really, isn't it? They're not soft at all. They're really crucial. We think by putting those two things together and then talking to industry in terms of where their industries are evolving, that is like a beautiful mix, if you like, of skills and accruing so-called soft skills in order to develop the whole individual. So we think that's great preparation for the future.
And is it fair to say, sorry to be my last point on this one, that and I don't want to put you on the spot as to curriculum and all the rest of it, but each year as industry, as certainly in media creation, so broadcast, video, TV professionals, technology is progressing every year and it's moving forward. Is it fair to say that your course is moving forward, is changing? Your course is in broadcast TV and media, creation. They're moving forward with the times. They're changing with it.
We have to, and I think there's a differential though between, I think you can go chasing, if you like, the technology, and of course our students have to be very comfortable with the technology to move from, university environment into a work environment. So we have to stay up to date with that. Yeah. I would say much more importantly is actually how you teach students how to learn, because actually we just take that for granted that actually people know how to learn. If I said to you, what is your kind of learning style? What's the thing that actually gets you out of bed? How do you get excited about engaging and being curious about something? So we think that that's a really important part of it. So in terms of you're right, the industry is changing almost by the month. But the critical element for us is that how can you create and nurture adaptive, resilient students so they can actually change with that change, as opposed to necessarily seen as technologically driven. And what's the latest bit of software we need to update? So I think it's getting a balance between those two, and that is the sweet spot, if you like, of our education.
So, Gary, obviously many people are longing to get back to normal. What do you think the future holds for students and their careers in higher education?
Yeah, that's the normal word has come up a lot, actually. I think a lot of my colleagues and many people in the higher education sector, we just all hoped, didn't we, that this will all go away at some point and actually we'll go back to normal. I actually think this is our Uber moment. I actually don't, whatever you think of Uber and the impact and the disruption it had on the transport system in London, whatever you think about it, it did change things forever. And I think we're in that moment for higher education. So, and actually, I mentioned that disruption earlier on with fashion course and how that kind of squeezed some creativity out. I think that is the future, actually. I think that at Ravensbourne, we're seeing this very much as a hybrid model now. We're finding out that some of our students actually really are able to thrive in this environment in a much more creative way. So, for example, many of our students they reflect the diversity of London. We have 40% BAME students that are our cohorts. Many of them are actually doing part-time jobs. They're maybe primary carers for their parents. And so they need flexibility, actually. And what we're finding out of this crisis is that in us having to become flexible how we deliver our courses, that is actually suiting a lot of our students. And I think this is the future now. So it's not just about seeing this as actually, let's get past this crisis and then go back to the norm. I think we're seeing it as an opportunity to actually really reinvent the way we do what we do. And students seem to be joining us in that journey. And it's pretty exciting, actually. It's a brave new world.
It certainly is. Well, Gary, thank you. It's been fascinating talking to you and a real pleasure. Thank you very much for coming on KitPlus Weekly.
My pleasure.
So as we come to the end of KitPlus TV Season 1, we'd like to thank Media Proxy for their ongoing support. As you may already know, they're the global leader for all things compliance, with over 20 years in the business and over 15,000 channels deployed in over 60 countries. They're the trusted partner in the industry for logging, monitoring and analysis of linear broadcasts and OTT.
What you may not know is that Log Player is the most advanced multiplayer HTML5 user interface supported across all desktop and mobile web browsers. It has a powerful tool set for quickly turning around clips to publish directly and easily to social media platforms like Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and many others.
And if you're looking to replace your Volacon system, team up with the global leader in compliance. For more information, please check out their website. And now let's go back over to Dick with his guest for today.
Today I'm talking to one of my most reliable contacts in the industry, as well as a good friend, Glodina Lostanlen. Glodina, hello, thank you for taking the time out to talk to us. Give us a little bit about your background. I know you started as an engineer.
Hey, hi Dick, nice to talk to you again. Always good to catch up with you. Well, yeah, that seems like it was a long time ago, but it's always been there with me in the sense that in this industry, being able to relate to engineers is very important. And even if we have very business intensive discussions, it's a technology industry before anything else. So I very much value that experience, but I have to admit that I can't contribute as much as I used to, just enough to be dangerous.
Yeah, just keep people honest. Tell us what your current role is within Imagine.
Right. At Imagine, I'm currently the Chief Sales Officer, so essentially responsible for global sales for the world and based in Paris, France.
Yes, I was going to say, you're talking to us from Paris, which is another miracle of the internet. But I guess the more interesting thing is that you can be a C-level executive of a company while working from 5,000 kilometers away from the home office.
Look, I think we heard the fast and hard way to some extent how to make it work. And what we've discovered, I think when I say we, it's the bigger industry of people who used to travel so much, that actually you can achieve a lot by not traveling as much. However, I think that we rely on our sort of baggage of contacts and relationships, whether it's inside the company or outside with customers, and that ultimately it's important to get back to go and see people again. But definitely the environment we're in has completely changed that view that you have to travel so much in order to achieve the same results. So I think we learned a lot there.
And of course, just at the moment, we should all be in a wild panic about setting up IBC. What sort of an impact is the absence of NAB a few months back and now IBC having on the way that the industry works?
Well, it has forced us to rethink the way we reach out to our customers and our industry colleagues. And I think we've been able to, reinvent the digital marketing part of it, which is, heavily relying on webinars to communicate about our technology, also our remote demonstrations, even for hardware products. We had, I think, 60 plus remote demonstrations of the S&P. And, you have to ask yourself, okay, so why are we having those trade show meetings? And I think right now it's mostly to meet people and have those relationship binding experience than it is to truly uncover new technology, because there are multiple ways and multiple places where you can experience that. I think that's the learning there, in my opinion.
I've sat in on some of the webinars that Imagine has organised, and they've been actually very useful, very interesting, and that could be the way ahead, because Imagine has always use the big trade shows as an opportunity to exchange experiences and exchange knowledge. You've had stage presentations on your booth. It's keeping that level of sharing up, I think, is going to be the challenge.
That's right. And, I have to say, to some extent, referring to travel and trade show, when you look at the expense that they incur, the good news is that we're able to, on one hand, save a little bit and then spend differently. And I think, even in the sort of the media and the media industry that helps us, propagate that message, it might be good news. It might be that we can do more things than we used to, as opposed to those big events, setting up a booth and sending equipment and people, which might not be the best return.
Yes, interesting times. So when you're talking to your customers now remotely, what are they saying? Where is the broadcast industry today? Do we even talk about the broadcast industry?
I think we still talk about the broadcast industry, but it's fair to say that it has become it has had a broader meaning, right? So I think what they're discovering is that things they thought they couldn't do, that wouldn't be acceptable, are now okay, and they can do it. And mostly overall, the experience has been good. So what I'm talking about is for themselves being able to operate, master control room from distance with minimum people on site, being able to run things in disaster recovery mode /cloud not as perfect as they might have in the first place. I think everybody's learning to say that might be acceptable. But it also comes with another challenge that they have to face, and it's broadcast and it's content industry is, okay, how do we get our revenues still coming in when it's advertising, when it's releasing new content? I think that's where the disruption is coming, and has been coming before COVID, I would say. But that's accelerated by the fact that people now are essentially consuming everything on demand, whether it's broadcast content generated in the first place or offline content that was always meant to be offline.
Glodina and I carried on our conversation for quite some time. You can see the whole thing by following the links here. But for now, back to the studio.
So we start with capture and produce news, and as the production community gets back to shooting, Holden has added a new brand to its portfolio, which will help crews complete projects more efficiently and creatively than ever. Portable backup and storage manufacturer Narbox gives camera crews a quick in-field backup of crucial video files with checksum verification and fast media management. For more insight, you can see the Narbox 2.0 user review submitted to us on the link on screen now.
Matthews Studio Equipment solves another real-world issue with a new gobo plate. If you haven't added a gobo plate to your kit, you should. It's a relatively inexpensive mounting adapter plate to help mounting and attaching grip on set and on location. Designed to interface with any industry standard 2.5-inch grip head, and gives you 25 thoughtfully spaced holes for bolting accessories as well as circular cutouts, allowing the plate to be screwed or nailed to wood, apple boxes, overhead beams, etc. Very, very good.
Yeah. And now let's welcome our first guest this week, David Bradley from BR Remote, to the studio. David, welcome to KitPlus TV. We reported on the news recently about the collaboration between BR Remote and Marshall Electronics, who produce a range of mini cameras. Maybe tell us a little bit about this collaboration and what made you think of designing a tiny remote head.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I've been seeing an emerging range of little micro cameras, the Marshall being one, Dream Chip another, Lux Media Plan. They're all making little tiny cameras, and I thought a lot of my clients were using them, but of course I couldn't move them about because the smallest head to move them about was way too large. So I thought I can I can do that. And so I started designing this little micro head here. It was, I suppose, kicked off by some guys. I did some work on some sailing boats, and they had some micro cameras all over the boats. But of course, once they rigged them, they were never pointing in the right direction. And so they asked me if I could design something small to use for that. So I designed that. I sent several off to various people, and one of the people I sent one off to was Marshall, and they were very enthusiastic about it indeed, and suggested that what it really needs is a small joystick to go with it, which I didn't have at the time, to be fitting the same sort of size. So, sort of with their impetus, we designed this little thumb joystick, which is basically a sort of Game Boy joystick, and a menu that you can do all the functions with. So that's really the sort of collaboration we have with Marshall. We're now branding their boxes with the Marshall brand and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, quite exciting, really.
And so how long did it take you to get from the sailing boat problem to the finished product with a joystick ready to send out there?
It took me from about October last year to having demo units out about 2 months ago, and then the last 2 months have been refining it, and actually most of the refinement's been in things like the packaging and the presentation rather than the actual mechanical device itself.
Yeah.
And so it's quite a long process, but we have an enormous background in remote control heads, as you know. So we, for us to design it, it took us 8 months. For someone who has no background, it would probably take a year or more.
That's pretty quick. Yeah,
absolutely. Now, obviously, this is a tiny little head, and normally when you reduce something in size, you've got to make some sort of compromises. Does it have all the features of the larger heads, or is there naturally having to be some taken away and removed?
In actual fact, it has virtually everything that the larger heads have, all crammed inside here. Now, the technology to do that probably wasn't possible in a sort of few years ago, and we possibly didn't even have the experience to be able to do it inside. But it's got all the protocols for Marshall cameras built in, so you don't have to have an extra cable to the camera to control the white balance and all the functions of the camera. You can, if it had a zoom lens on it, we could control the zoom lens from it as well. It's even got a power supply built in so that you can send lots of volts down the line, and it'll still give a nice 12 volts to the camera. It's got all the preset positions and all that sort of thing, multiple speeds. It'll drive smoothly from position to position. So yeah, it's pretty fully featured in that sense.
And fully features meaning it can be fully integrated into any system the same way as any of your other remote heads. It runs on It runs on exactly the same protocols as all our stuff ever has done. Very simple protocols, so if people want to implement it into their own control systems, they can. It's all readily available. It's not complicated like some. And easy to understand.
Is this shipping now, David?
Yes, it's shipping now. I think we shipped the first batch about a month ago. Most of the business, interestingly, is in the US. A lot of interest in Europe, but because I think COVID lockdown, we haven't really come out. No one's actually ordering in Europe, odd ones and twos and things like that. But in America, they seem to take a different view. Like, here it is, let's go with it, and let's get going. And and reorders as well.
Has there been much feedback so far?
Yeah, the feedback's been amazing. Todd Musgrave, the CEO of Marshall in the USA, he did a little tiny video of it and stuck it out on Facebook and Twitter. And within 24 hours, he had 1,700 responses from people saying, how much is it and when's it available?
Well, we chatted to Todd recently on a KitPlus show. So if people want to find out more about the Marshall cameras, they can check out that. We'll put the link on screen now. And David, we'll put your link obviously on screen as well, so people can find out where to inquire about more information.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thanks very much, guys.
Thanks for coming on the show, David.
And now onto our second workflow section, Manipulate and Edit, with new products from Holden. Loop Deck is an interface panel used alongside software titles such as Photoshop, Final Cut Pro, Premiere Pro, Lightroom and After Effects for instant finger touch control of the application. You can buy either a Loop Deck Plus or a Loop Deck CT, where the advanced CT version is fully customizable.
Red Giant has just released an update to Universe, its collection of GPU accelerated plugins. Universe 3.3 gives us 2 brand new tools and an update to 4 current ones. The new graphics tools are Quantum and Modes, and there are also updated versions of the Glow, Glimmer, Chromatic, Aberration and Hacker Text tools. I'm sure you can find out more about each of these online.
And on the very important topic of audio, Audio Design Desk has just launched a brand new integration with Frame.io, the video review and collaboration platform. It's actually the platform that we use here at KitPlus. The deep integration enables a seamless round-trip experience between the two platforms. Users can pull video assets and frame-accurate comments directly from Frame.io into Audio Design Desk for creating sound and music for video. And they can upload their work to Frame.io for collaborative review and feedback without ever leaving the timeline.
Yeah, I know for a fact that without Frame.io, the finalising of this weekly show would take a lot longer, as we can all collaborate and comment to frame accuracy for any issues we find, normally lower third spellings, eh?
Oh yeah, lots of lower third spellings, usually on my part. So we'd now like to welcome Mark Sheffield from Pip Studios. Now, we've recently told our viewers the news of Pip Studios being open for business. So tell us a little bit more about the facility.
So Pip Studios is a purpose-built post-production facility that's based in Winnersh. We're lucky enough to have 13,000 square feet here, built for theatrical and home entertainment mixing. We've got 6 Dolby ATMOS stages. Fortunately enough, we've got enough room to build 6 stages, so we thought we'd go as big as we could. And they're all of good size, 10 metres by 7 by 4. So they're large rooms to service theatrical work domestically and international, as well as home and anything in between. Really, this ADR we can do, crowd wall recording, etc. So a very versatile facility that we've built, and being of such a large capacity, room to social distance in this current climate as well.
Yeah, okay, 13,000 square feet explains why you've got it out in Winnersh and not in the centre of Soho.
Exactly, yeah.
So, what prompted you to embark on this project? Why create Pip Studios?
Well, I think just working in the business for so many years with the co-founders is that we saw there just wasn't enough capacity in the UK. There seems to be an awful lot of production studios that are being built and launched. But there's nothing falling alongside those in terms of post-production. So we saw a big gap in the market that a facility of this size was needed to service the work, whether it's theatrical or home ent or streaming or even music, for Atmos mixing. So that was kind of where our thoughts were. And we just saw a gap in the market and thought this is something we should try this and get it off the ground. So we have, and here we are.
So Mark, can you give us a quick rundown of the services the facility can offer professionals?
Yep, so the services we can offer is Dolby ATMOS theatrical mixing. So whether that's on the domestic front or the international versions. We can also offer pre-mix facilities, whether it's wet hire or dry hire. We can do music ATMOS mixing, ADR recording, crowd walla recording, anything to do with localization in terms of audio services, whether it's conform work or deliveries being created. So quite a versatile amount of audio services we offer. And we're open for business for people to come and see us now if they're ready.
Have you noticed? I mean, we've started to see a bit more activity in the industry. Have you? And you've only been open a few weeks already, really, but are you starting to see some work coming through?
Yeah, we're seeing some green shoots. We've got plenty of bookings. Obviously, studios are playing it by ear in terms of their release dates for their slates. Things are moving slightly, but we are seeing movement now for sort of end of August, September time for films to start mixing again. There's a lot of films that have been made that have been put on the shelf and need delivering and finalising and being finished. So, yeah, so next year's looking very busy as well at the moment. So that could all change depending on COVID, but currently it's looking very promising, yeah.
Well, if you can social distance, let's hope let's hope people can continue to come in and work with you.
Exactly, yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks for coming in and tell us all about it. We'll make sure there's a link on the screen for people to follow and well, hopefully make a booking, investigate, see what facilities
they can
you've got,
come and see our
go from
website.
there.
Pipstudios.com would be great. So thanks for your time.
Next in the workflow is manage and monitor. And first up with some great news is Magewell. They have added support for NDI HX to their ProConvert decoders. New updates for the company's ProConvert for NDI to HDMI and ProConvert for NDI to HDMI 4K standalone IP decoders. The free upgrades add compatibility with the high efficiency low bitrate NDI HX mode in NDI 4, sitting nicely alongside its existing support for full NDI streams.
So I'm going to turn to our NDI guru now. John, can you explain what NDI HX is?
Sure. Well, NDI, when it initially came out, or full bandwidth NDI, is a very high quality, low latency conversion of basebands to IP. Starts at about 110 megabits per second and has about one field of latency, which is great. But it's very intensive on your network. You've got to really have a 10 gig network to be able to get a lot of IP connectivity on a lot of NDI sources. So NDI HX is a higher compressed version of the full NDI. So it compresses the signal down. It's still incredibly high quality, but it's a lot lower bandwidth, sort of 8 to 15 megabits a second, which means that you can get much more NDI sources on a typical gigabit network. So if you only have like a 1 gig network, you can get multiple NDI HX sources on your network without having to worry about your network's bandwidth being filled up with NDI sources.
Cool. So that is a big announcement for Magewell, absolutely. And moving on, Ikegami has announced an addition to its ULI professional monitor series with the introduction of the 31.5-inch ULE 315. Designed for easy connection into the modern studio environment, the new model has everything you would expect input-wise, including 3G HD SDI inputs, YUV analog component inputs, plus 3G HD SDI active loop-through output, HDMI, DVI, VGA, and audio input, and RS-42 control interface.
Very handy. Now we know about controlcentre-ip, the high-performance matrix for KVM over IP from Guntermann and Drunk. It now has some new features, making it even more secure and user-friendly, and includes cool new functions such as the integration of generic USB devices and USB 2.0 in KVM over IP installations. The security improvements to Matrix Guard, implemented in controlcentre-ip, provide more extensive security for possible failure scenarios.
And now it's time to welcome our next guest into the studio. And we have Brodric Nesbit from KVM-TEC. Welcome to KitPlus TV, Brodric. It's good to see you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for having me today.
Pleasure. Can you tell us a bit about the advantages of the KVM-TEC high-performance KVM system for future?
Yes. Well, thank you so much for this question. The KVM4 Future KVM High Performance System is a hot topic because now customers need a KVM system for future at the best price performance ratio. Before I move on, thank you for introducing me. I'll let you know that I'm responsible for sales in North America, and I'm also the key account manager for the UK. All KVM-TEC KVM extenders and matrix switching systems are developed and produced in Europe. And guys, to be more precisely, here in Austria, actually right behind me. So back to the current need of the market, a high-performance KVM system with innovative features in the best price-performance ratio. That's why we created the KVM4 Future system, a flexible, future-proof, secured, engineered system with optimized hardware. So let me introduce you to these 4 points. And I brought along 4 envelopes, and we'll go through these real quickly. So first, we'll have a deeper look into flexible, customized. And you might ask what that means. In the KVM4 Future system, you can combine full HD extenders like our Flex line with our 4K extender, Media 4K Connect, and 4K Ultraline in one matrix switching system. That's unique at the market if you really think about it. Also unique is that all KVM extenders are compatible in matrix switching systems up to 2,000 endpoints with standard network components. That's a huge price benefit. If you really think about it, this is very, very huge for the market. So guys, let me move on to my second point. Future-proof. What does this mean? Well, I have something in my envelope I want to read to you. Dear KVM-TEC team, I grew. Please send me 50 endpoint packages. What could this mean? The KVM-TEC switching system is a combination of AV matrix and KVM matrix switching systems over IP. The KVM-TEC FlexLine system stands for an adaptable switching system that can be extended again and again and again, in which upgrade packages for switching endpoints for 50 or 100 can be purchased later. So it's basically up to the end user. So let's move on to point 3, secured engineered. Gentlemen, I have, don't worry, I'm redundant. For us, this means redundancy for failed safe operation of highly critical systems. If one port fails, the second port seamlessly takes over the function of both FlexLine and Media 4K Connect. Secured engineered also means uncompressed for applications where transmission without any manipulation is important, for example, in the medical sector. And also a nice to have boost, future-proof, stays safe against cyber attacks. The KVM-TEC matrix switching system is used in a dedicated network, therefore offers absolute security against cyber attacks. And the extenders are suitable for 24-volt systems and are available in the PoE version. And so, gentlemen, last but not least, my last envelope, I'll be quick, hardware optimized. There's a lot in here. It means flexible channel management, USB video and sound, and innovative software features, a clever software management, and saving space in the rack. So let's go over this. Channel management. Flexible USB, video, sound channel managing allows optimal use of channels and thus hardware optimization with ultra-fast switching performance without delay. Innovative software features for ergonomic workstation. All innovative features are software features without extra hardware, like Mouse Glide and Switch and Multiview Commander. Mouse Glide and Switch allows the operation of up to 16 monitors with just one mouse and one keyboard, as well as flexible sharing on video walls. And with our 4K Multiview Commander, content from different PCs can be displayed and operated on one 4K monitor. Depending on the mouse position, the USB signals can be routed to the corresponding PCs over distances of up to 120 kilometers. And if you're in the US, that's 77 miles. And let me get to this point, saving space in the rack. Besides the smallest 4K box on the market, which is our Media 4K Connect, we also have the smallest dual full HD extenders at the market. So these are our flex line. We have 1 dual, 2, 3, 4. You can fit 4 in one RU height rack. So gentlemen, I have a question for you real quick. If I can fit 4 dual extenders in one RU height rack, how many video streams am I getting out of that rack? You have 8 video streams coming out of one RU height rack. If you think about it, we're saving space in the rack, and this is a great benefit for the end user. So KVM-TEC saves you space in the rack, gentlemen.
Brodric, that's great. So let me ask you this then. What are the main benefits of FlexLine then?
Thank you for the great question. All full HD extenders, which are currently on the market, are celebrating their 10th, 12th, maybe 20th birthday. Congratulations to them all. They did a great job. But we at KVM-TEC thought it was a great time to develop a new generation of full HD extenders. Designed for what? Designed for what the market is asking for. FlexLine, the customized system, the latest generation of full HD extenders that leaves nothing to be desired. KVM solutions will experience a boom in the next few years as they offer many advantages such as perfect video compression, almost zero latency, compatibility with standard network components, and there's definitely a need for KVM in many areas such as critical control rooms, data centers, government facilities, newly esports and sporting arenas, broadcast studios, OB bands. These are transforming KVM solutions into a fast-growing market. KVM systems of the new generation should be flexible, and depending on the application, full HD and 4K in one application can be combined. This is how it should be. FlexLine Full HD extenders are based on 4 different product groups. We have SmartFlex, MasterFlex, MaxFlex, and USB Flex. But in total, the FlexLine is offering, 12 plus 7. Who's good at math in the studio? How many is that? 12 plus 7?
19. Go on.
19 versions. There we go. 19 versions we offer you with our FlexLine product. But besides the 4 product groups, FlexLine is available in a PoE version, and the latest brand new product is our industry line, gentlemen, or industrial use at temperatures of up to, let's say, 55 degrees Celsius or 131 degrees Fahrenheit, and an indestructible flash. It's very important. FlexLine extenders have analog and embedded sound, are available in redundant version. The copper version covers a distance of up to 150 meters, that's 492 feet. And in fiber, single and redundant, covers a distance of up to 160 kilometers, that's 99 miles. FlexLine extenders are compatible with network components and can be used in a matrix switching system up to 1,000 endpoints and more. Guys, like I mentioned earlier, you can expand your network at any time by using additional endpoint packages. All FlexLine extenders are suitable for 24-volt systems, USB memory, analog VGA, sound analog, and for MaxFlex, we have RS-232 is available. So our FlexLine Full HD extenders are really power boxes, guys. Thus, 4 extenders, like I mentioned earlier, can fit in one RU height rack. You guys answered it right. That means 8 video streams. And I just have another question before we move on. If I can fit 4 duals in one RU height rack, can you guess the dimensions? Is it 10.8 centimeters, or is it maybe 15.5 centimeters, or maybe 20.5 centimeters? What do you guys think? How big could our
We'll take one each.
Would you?
Right.
Go on. Tell us.
15.
Okay, I heard 15. Anybody else want to take a guess?
No, I'll go with 15. I always go with John because he knows stuff.
Okay. Well, guys, the dimensions are 10.8 centimeters. This is how big this box is. And this is why we can fit 4 in one RU height rack. Good job. Thank you for participating. And you will understand we have something to celebrate here at KVM-TEC because we put the crown on the whole thing with sensational pricing, and all KVM-TEC extenders are produced, crisis resistant here in Europe, more precisely, like I said, right behind me in our development house. I'm ready for the second question.
Well, no, that's fantastic. The HD extenders sound great, but now really what we've got to find out, what makes the 4K extenders from KVM-TEC so special? What makes them stand out?
Great, thank you so much. This is also a very hot topic, 4K, right? Everybody's talking about 4K. I need 4K. At KVM-TEC, there are several great passions, and one of them is development. Of course, my passion is sales. We also have passion in marketing. So the developers of KVM-TEC have set themselves the goal to give every KVM extender a very special touch. Our creative development team defines KVM extenders with special features or that enriches the KVM world. So let's take a look at the flagship 4K product, our 4K Ultraline DisplayPort Extender 1.2, comes in copper and fiber, which can be used in a point-to-point as well as a matrix switching system up to 2,000 endpoints. As with all KVM extenders, the in-house development technology allows a perfect combination of video compression and low latency. We're under 5 milliseconds here, guys. The built-in MST hub splitter, capturing, downscaling are just some of the features here in our UVX DisplayPort 1.2 extender. But a unique feature among KVM manufacturers is that mouse glide and switch and 4K Multiview Commander are integrated as pure software features. Yes, pure software feature. So that means there are no extra hardware necessary. It comes ready for you. Mouse glide and switch with just one keyboard and one mouse can operate up to 16 screens and can be operated and shared on video walls. And with our 4K Multiview Commander, I have to tell you guys, this is my personal favorite here. The content of 4 PCs can be displayed and operated on just one 4K screen, an ideal application for control rooms because any number of 4K Multiview Commanders can be combined and shared. So now, guys, but now to the world's smallest 4K box on the market. This is our Media 4K Connect, which is not only super stylish, gentlemen, as you see, this nice electric blue. We have our logo on top, super small, but also super variable system. The smallest, the most affordable 4K extender on the market is available as a 4K standalone version, as a redundant model, and as an uncompressed model. And the best uncompressed redundant can be upgraded at any time. This is what a KVM-TEC engineered KVM system looks like. Innovative, flexible, and creative. And so, gentlemen, as I already mentioned, we at KVM-TEC create development designs that enrich the KVM world. And so I would like to introduce 2 more benefits before I get out of here. The best price performance ratio. All KVM extenders are compatible with standard network components. And one more benefit, we say, don't worry, we grow with you. The matrix switching system can be expanded again and again, upgrade packages of endpoints, and guaranteed super fast switching with no limit of the number of endpoints. Switching without any limit. So, guys, just have a look at our website, www.kvm-tec.com, or follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We might have Snapchat soon. YouTube, we're available.
Brilliant. We'll make sure that there's plenty of links on screen so that we can get people to you. It's been fascinating. I wish I knew we were going to be examined on certain features during the interview, but that's all right. I remember that's 10.8 centimeters, and thank you very much for coming and telling us all about the KVM-TEC technology. So yeah, I hope to see you soon. And if you get any news, let us know. Yeah.
Yes, I will. Thank you so much. Thank you for the time and thank you for the great questions. And I hope we see each other soon.
And finally, in Move and Deliver news, Dalet have announced the availability of a cloud-enabled version of its premium broadcast graphics solution for newsrooms, Dalet Cube, which is powered by the Brainstorm real-time graphics engine. This solution provides the tools to create 2D and 3D dynamic graphics and branding for news content across traditional, digital and social channels, tightly integrated with the Dalet Galaxy 5 environment. Dalet Cube NG can now run on public cloud infrastructure and on premises.
And DeGiro has provided the NBA 2K League with a variety of remote connectivity equipment via De Facto Entertainment and facilities partner Dome Productions to help the professional esports league save its third season threatened by the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic that prevented its 23 teams from gaming together in the league's new Manhattan studio. The Esports League shifted its entire Season 3 production from a studio-based model to a large-scale pan-North American remote gameplay production model in record time with the help of DeGiro.
And now we'd like to welcome our next guest, Ian Sharpe from Promethean. Nice to see you.
Thank you for having me.
And no problem at all. So, for those of us that don't know, give us some background into what Promethean are doing and why you exist.
Okay, so Promethean is an online platform that delivers interactivity to video. The genesis of our company is that we all came from the esports space, spent a lot of time in video games and esports, and if you're familiar with things like Twitch, which is a huge vehicle for Amazon, all of the screen that you have here is populated by all kinds of things. It's populated by chat and polls and all kinds of things that you can engage with and interact with. And we call that the lean-in experience. It's not the sit-back passive experience. It's the need to engage and interact with what's going on your screen. So there's a generation coming up that is very familiar with touching and engaging and doing something with their screen. And so, having learned an awful lot about that esports space as a fast follower to Twitch, and ultimately, unfortunately, a failed follower to Twitch, it's difficult to compete with Amazon's dollars. But we learned an awful lot, and what we decided to do was to become this interactivity, these Twitch extensions, these abilities to engage with your content. We decided to be that for everyone else apart from Twitch, for all of the other verticals, whether it's sports, whether it's houses of worship, whether it's people walking down the catwalk to sell you the latest fashions from Milan, all of those people who are using video to drive engagement and ultimately to get ROI from that content, to get people to buy something. That's what we aim to do.
Yeah, how do the broadcasters, whether they be sport, houses of worship, etc., how do they further engage with their audiences at the moment with your services?
So right now we're you've heard the phrase big in Japan. We're big in Thailand. We work with a big broadcaster out there called True. They are the kind of number one telco in the region and big across Southeast Asia as well. And they have, for example, the rights to the English Premier League. And what we do is we interface with their content, whether it's on Smartbox, whether it's on mobile phone, and an awful lot of their viewers, up to 70%, are on mobile phone, or whether it's on desktop, like I'm recording with you now, a laptop. We have a series of ways to integrate, but we integrate with them quite deeply with a cross-platform SDK. That means that when I'm sitting in the studio like you are, and I press a button, everybody, no matter whether they're on a mobile device or a set-top box or their laptop, will see the message that they broadcast. And this is particularly good for them because they've got a lot of brand sponsors like Samsung, like Singer Beer, and these guys all want to see a meaningful return from their investment in and around the English Premier League. English Premier League rights are hugely expensive, as you know, and the ability to create something that drives a much higher click-through rate than traditional advertising and creates a kind of call to action for these people, for the audience, is something that has generated great success for them. 5 to 10 times the average click-through rates that they see in market in Thailand, and because of that, they're getting these repeat activations. And it's not just traditional advertising, I should say. It's not just a simple click-through. We've got interactive polls. We've got interactive stats, live stats drawn from Opta about the game. All kinds of ways in which you can engage with the content that you're watching in a meaningful, contextual, relevant way, and that's what drives the click-throughs. That's the all-important thing. That's the lesson that we took from esports and applied to all of these other verticals. Relevance plus a call to action equals results.
Cool. So Ian, this isn't, or are your services aimed predominantly at larger broadcasters, or is this really a solution that can be used for anybody creating content?
So the latter, because anybody that's using video to create a conduit to commerce is able to use our solution. So, for example, we've integrated with Vimeo, and we're talking to a lot of houses of worship in the coronavirus crisis. We've seen that donations are hemorrhaging in houses of worship. We've seen that people aren't able to attend church or temple. And so video has become a lifeline for people at either side, whether it's the vicar, the priest, or his congregation. And that digital giving has been important. And Vimeo is a kind of platform that goes to many people. We're also working with real-time solutions partners like Phoenix. Phoenix has a mechanism whereby if you're watching a broadcast, it's a low latency solution, so that there is no delay between you and what you're watching over in Europe and what I'm watching over in Canada. And that means that all kinds of things like gaming, gambling, quizzes, things that are time sensitive, can be activated as well. So it's difficult for us to use platforms like YouTube and Facebook, which are behemoths in the space, because they have their own solution. But ultimately, those companies, as you know, Amazon and Facebook, they are coming to eat the lunch of traditional broadcasters and small broadcasters alike. There was a recent US Congress hearing about those big boys and how they treat small customers. Tools like ours enable both large and small broadcasters to engage with their customers and their brand partners in a meaningful way that clearly, demonstrably delivers results.
So here's one. Obviously, this pandemic's been going on, and a lot of people have had to change and learn new ways of doing things. What opportunities are out there now for broadcasters, big or small, in these sort of real-time overlays, all this, everything that you are able to push out to people? What have people learned about using this sort of systems during this sort of pandemic?
Well, the crucial thing here is, like I said, relevance, right? So if we were talking, as we are talking here, and you decided that you wanted to, for example, incite people to go and click on your website or go and take advantage of a discount, something like that, you would put it up right here on the screen right now. And because then you talk to it in much the same way as a Twitch or a YouTube broadcaster would, it creates this really compelling call to action. It's something that you're able to engage with right now. You're talking to it, and that drives that throughput. And so that's one of the things. And again, you see that in the houses of worship, right? People are talking, they make their call for giving, and it's there right now, and you can do something about it right now. Same with if you're making a sale, if there's a commerce activation, then here's a coupon. The coupon appears with a QR code that goes straight to your Apple phone, and it's there, and you can make a purchase with it. With True, we talk about this digital to physical, whereby they own a lot of the 7-Elevens in Thailand, and so you get a coupon, it's on your phone, you walk into the 7-Eleven and you use it at the till, use it at the cash register. So those are the kind of things that we want to see. We want to facilitate this conduit to commerce, whereby these devices that we use more and more, they're ubiquitous, they're in our pocket, and they become a mechanism to take this wonderful video experience that we all love. We're watching much more video these days, and we then use that as the key to unlock all kinds of other aspects of our life.
I've got a question in. For broadcasters, small or large, that have got like a back catalogue of years of content, how do you find the transition when their whole goal might have been building a YouTube audience for years and years? How do you find the transition from that to now effectively leaving YouTube and hosting their content elsewhere in order to take advantage of your services?
Yeah, so look, I mean, you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You don't have to abandon your existing plans. But I do think it's important to have a proprietary conversation with your audience and based around your own properties, and not just abdicate it to Google. You know, if by all means go do that, but that's how they've become very big, and that's why your company is small in comparison, right? They've successfully gobbled up lots of content by making it easy. Now, what we say is, build out your own properties, like True. True's in Thailand are a good case study because they've affected a whole digital media transformation. They've gone from an old style telco to having a digital media platform that is able to buy up the rights to the EPL and use that to market their other services whilst delivering smart boxes into the homes at a phenomenal rate. And they've been a great advocate and a great standard bearer for what we're doing, because they've embraced it so totally and had this proprietary solution that is something that they're developing on their own in order to own their own destiny, as opposed to give their destiny over to the big boys. So if you've got a massive library, keep your massive library where the audience can find it. But this is all about the ARM funnel, right? This is all about acquisition, retention, monetization. Hook them, bring them to your network that you control, and then start to monetize them more effectively on your domains. It's just casting a net using those big boys and making them work for you as opposed to you work for them.
It's fascinating stuff, Ian. Thank you very much for coming on KitPlus TV today.
Thanks very much for having me on. It was great to talk to you all.
And for the last time this series, it's over to Alistair for some more technical insights.
Thanks, Matt. So how do you choose the right camcorder for you? Well, the first thing to do is to take off your emotional head and put on your business head. It's all too easy to get caught up in all the hype surrounding the latest camera to be released, when in fact actually that might not be the one that's going to be best for what you do. And broadly, there are 4 types of camcorder available today, starting with the DSLR type camera, moving up to the handheld Handycam camera that you might hold in front of you, to the ENG camera that goes on your shoulder, to the large sensor cameras with Super 35 or full frame sensors. And if we look at each of those, there are pros and cons to each. DSLRs are generally very good value for the money, and they do produce great images. But they are large sensor cameras, and one of the problems with any of the large sensor cameras is creating affordable parfocal zoom lenses. So that's a zoom lens that stays in focus as you zoom in and zoom out. And a parfocal lens for a large sensor camera is almost inevitably going to be big and bulky, and if you want a large zoom ratio, it's going to be very expensive. Also, the DSLRs are not always well laid out ergonomically for video production. They're great for taking photos, but less suited often for video. So if we move on then to the Handycam Camcorders, well, the big advantage of those is that because they do generally have a much smaller sensor, making a wide range zoom lens is much easier. And because that lens is integrated into the camera body, it's very carefully matched to the sensor, and you can get huge zoom ranges in a relatively low cost, very affordable camera. And the quality of the codecs and everything else in these is now much improved, and they really do produce good quality images for not a lot of money. And next up from that is the traditional on-the-shoulder ENG camera. Now these you can almost always change the lenses on them, and there's a huge range of zoom lenses that you can put on them. These cameras are great for sports, live events such as concerts and things like that, where you need to get very tight with a long focal length zoom lens. But that comes at a price. You have to buy a lens that's typically fairly expensive in itself, as well as the camera, and ENG cameras do tend to be quite pricey. But if your main business is documentary and news production, it might still be the right choice for you. Then that last category is the large sensor, what we might call digital cinematography cameras with a Super 35 or full frame sensor. These are all the rage these days, and it's what everybody is talking about. And the main reason they're talking about them is the quality of the images that they produce is very good. That big sensor gives you high dynamic range, low noise, high resolution and great color. But like the DSLRs, we have this same issue with zoom lenses because of the big sensor. So you're probably going to need a wide range of lenses for that camera, and you're probably going to end up having to swap lenses a fair bit during most of your productions. But they do produce beautiful looking images. Now, of course, the other option that we haven't covered yet is buying more than one camera. If you are looking at perhaps a digital cinema style camera, perhaps you don't want to buy the very latest or the most expensive camera, and instead go one step down the ladder, buy a mid-range one, leaving you enough money perhaps to buy a Handycam as well that you can use when you need that big zoom range. And that really is something to be considered. It never is easy choosing a camcorder for yourself because there are so many choices, and there really isn't a one-fits-all solution. So do take that emotional head off, put the business head on, look at what it is that you really need out of your camcorder, and go from there. And with that, back to the studio.
Thanks, Alistair. And as we said at the start of the show, you can catch up on all of his previous tech insights on our weekly YouTube playlist. That's it from Alistair for season 1, but we'll have more from him in season 2. So do subscribe to the channel for more news coming soon. Well, that's it for now. We hope you've enjoyed the show over the last 3 months as much as we have. We'll see you next during the week of the 7th of September with our virtual IBC showcase, where we'll have one-to-one interviews directly with manufacturers about the latest technologies heading your way soon. Thanks for watching, and until season 2, starting on the 6th of October, that's goodbye from us.